Morning Dish.
He's the hardest working man in show business. His band's music takes you into the midnight hours. And when you wake up, his voice is back on your radio alarm clock. How on earth did this happen?
Well, Jeff saw me taking out the trash at the radio station.
And he won another award.
But this one is better.
I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am.
It's the Morning Dish with the 2019 Radio Personality of the Year winner, Stephen Phillips.
You paying attention to this, Packy?
And Murphy's own Sherry Raines.
Yeah, you must have given horseback passes to the right guy, Stephen.
Well, giddy up.
And Packy Smith's Shetland pony is right alongside.
You guys know these demo tapes don't just edit themselves together, right?
Well, all right.
3 cheers for Stephen Phillips.
Y'all need to help Stephen Phillips out over there. Out the door and off the radio.
Here's Stephen
All
Phillips.
right, folks, we're back with you, and we're going to get all kinds of training today on etiquette. We need that big time over here on the Morning Dish with Zoë Yeoman. How are you, girl?
I'm most excellent. Thank you for asking, Stephen. Nice to chat with you.
Oh, I guarantee I'm finally want to ask a professional, why do we need so many knives and forks and spoons when we're having a fancy meal?
Well, the truth is we don't. And interestingly enough, all those forks and knives and spoons that used to get put out on the table or are no longer put out on the table. And you know the number 1 or 2 reasons for that now?
Too much dishes to wash.
Too many dishes to wash and too many people walking out with things.
Oh, I can believe that.
So, yes. So that all stopped quite a long time ago. Now, if you're going to a White House state dinner, you'll still have them perhaps. If you're going to a 5-star Michelin restaurant, they may do that. But that's kind of gone the way of the dodo bird.
Well,
all those utensils.
Thank you for clearing that up for me, because I'm the salad fork guy. That's the one I like, the smallest fork, and that's the one I use all the time. But now there's etiquette in everything that you're saying. I mean, not just in eating, but in dressing and going to the grocery store and all that. Tell us a little. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in baseball.
Etiquette's in baseball?
It's in golf. Well, let me ask you a question. When you go to see a baseball game and the pitcher's on the mound and the person in front of you decides to stand up and go get a hot dog, how do you feel about that? Well, they just stood up in the middle of a pitch.
Oh, yeah.
So good manners dictate that if you're at the top of the stairs and the pitcher's on the mound, you don't walk down. You wait until the inning is over. I mean, there's etiquette in everything. There's etiquette on the golf course, right? When we hit a shot and we make a huge divot, you're supposed to replace that divot. Those are the rules.
Right.
That's the etiquette, right? Associated, one of the etiquette pieces to the game of golf, the game of baseball. Driving on the road, everywhere. It's everywhere.
No, I'm terrible on etiquette driving on the road. I'm telling you, I just hold it between the ditches pretty much.
And that's good. And as long as your kids aren't in the car, then say what you will, But when your children are in the car, you need to try to keep it clean, because you are there, a person, the mom, the dad, a grandma, auntie, uncle, older sister, older brother. They're the role model for that child. So, yes, there's so much to discuss, Stephen.
Oh, I can imagine. Just like, okay, what is the etiquette on scratching lottery tickets at convenience stores? There you go. Let's cover that.
Well, I mean, this is such an important question.
Seems like everybody always scratches a ticket.
Are you holding up the line because you're standing there scratching right then?
I'm not. I'm always behind the guy that does that, though.
Right. And so when I say you, I don't mean you specifically.
Right.
But yes, are you the person who goes into the store, buys the scratcher, and then wants to stand there and scratch and holding up the line? So another aspect to etiquette is being considerate and having consideration for others.
Right.
Holding the door open. I mean, I hold just as many doors open as men open for me. And when a man opens a door for me, I thank him profusely because I think it's such a nice thing. And I know that guys tend to be a little freaked out these days because, I don't need you to hold the door open for me,
Right.
kind of thing. But most ladies appreciate that.
Yeah.
So don't stop doing it, men. Don't stop.
Well, I do that for my wife when she goes out and gets wood because she can't open the door. So I hold the door open when she brings the wood in. So
You're a good person. So when she brings the groceries home,
yeah, I hold the door for her. Yeah, there you go. So now,
right? Do you?
how did you get started in this? This is something that you do full time, right?
Yeah, it is one of the aspects of my life. I had my own business and ran my own etiquette business for 13 years. I had corporate clients. I had private families, who were raising their children, sororities, business fraternities. I just had tons after school programs. I had tons of clients. And I think to your question, we were raised now my family's from the South.
Oh, really?
Originally.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a Georgia peach on my mother's side.
Right.
And my father's side of the family is from Alabama. So you come out of the South. My husband's a Texan by birth.
Right.
You kind of come out of the South, and a lot of this is regional in some respects. Other respects, not so much. But, it's stressed in Southern homes. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. How to sit at the table, how to go to Christmas and not embarrass your parents.
Right.
All of that stuff. So it was really the way that our parents raised us, which was to be comfortable in any situation with anyone. So, whether we were invited to a grand affair or we were guests as little kids in one of our friends' homes for a sleepover, we knew we were supposed to take our dishes to the sink. We knew that we were supposed to say, Mrs. Hopkins, is there anything I may help me? Would you like me to set the table? Right? Like that's just
Right.
how we were kind of brought up.
Right. And I think that goes with what we call Southern hospitality because, we
Absolutely.
do. Yeah.
100%. And so we always got invited back. And, my parents knew that when we were out of the house, we weren't doing anything necessarily to embarrass them.
Right.
So they kind of could trust us. So that's how it came. And it's just always stuck with me. And in a lot of cases, there are rules that I try to live by. I'm not perfect. But this is not about perfection.
Right.
No.
Well,
It's not.
I always try to be nice wherever I go and speak to everybody, and that's one of the things. But people that's not from the South, I think they kind of look down on Southern people as being ignorant and not having manners. But I see it actually the opposite way around most of the time. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I don't know if they look down on us. But I will tell you, I had moms that I would explain to the children in class that it was yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and that's how you responded to your parent. And the more you did that, the more likely you were for them to say yes to your request, right?
Right.
And I had moms say, "Oh, don't tell him to call me ma'am. It makes me feel old."
Right.
Well, you know what? Stop telling your kids they can't call you ma'am. I'm sorry, that's just inappropriate. And so I would say to them, well, so that's kind of your issue, right? And so you don't, this is how it's kind of done. And if you would prefer that your child call you by their first name when they're 12, it's your house. You can do what you want. That never would have flown in my day. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, things has changed over the years, though. It really has.
They have. They have changed a lot. It's true. And not necessarily for the better, but I think and you hit the nail on the head. You said, I'm nice to everybody. I speak to people.
Right.
And if people want to make fun of a drawl or, that's on them. That's not about us. That's not about, it's not about you. Part of this is, judgment is a bad thing. it's not so great necessarily to be judging somebody all the time based on the way they speak or necessarily the way they dress. Because,
Right.
you treat the guy poorly who walks into the bank and he's got muddy cowboy boots on and a, soiled shirt because he's been out working all day. Well, he might be your best customer. So, don't judge a book by its cover.
That's exactly right. I guarantee it. Now, you said you was from the South, Georgia. What part of Georgia are you from?
Augusta?
Oh, really? Well, we call it disgusting. I'm sorry. It's too hot.
I won't hold that against you.
There you
That's
go.
fine.
My son-in-law's from Augusta, and he taught me that. So, but anyway.
Yeah, that's where my mother's parents were.
Right.
And I ended up actually being born on Fort Gordon.
Oh, really?
My dad was retired Air Force, was an Air Force guy, and he was out of the country when I was born. And so, yeah, that's how that happened.
And then you married a long, tall Texan.
You bet I did. 6'3".
Good Lord. That's a real Texan there.
I know. My husband's fantastic. He is. And you know what? His mom, so this was one of the things that I really liked about him, Stephen,
Right.
was that his mother made sure that he and his brother had, etiquette classes when they were young men.
Right.
Now, yeah, is it important to know how to eat soup? Yes, that's important. But the real reason, one of the main reasons that she did it, remember now, this was, 35, 40 years ago.
Right.
Was because when you went to apply for a job out of college, depending upon your area of study, the partners or the managers of a specific firm might take you out to lunch or might take you out to dinner to see how you, how you handled yourself.
Right.
Right? So, boom, right out of college, he gets a great offer from an accounting firm.
Right.
And yeah, so that's another reason why it's important, to school our kids and some of this stuff too.
Well, now, is it polite? I'm from the South, and we eat with both elbows on the table. Is that etiquette okay or etiquette not okay?
When you're with your family, and you're in your own home and you're paying the mortgage, do what you will.
Yeah.
The reason that there's this rule around keeping one's elbows off the table is because it used to be that the family would sit around the table and the servant stood behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And they cannot take your plate away or put a plate down if both of your elbows are on the table.
I did not know that.
So they're standing behind you, and they need to pull that course, and you have your elbows on the table. So by keeping your elbows back and off and your hands down in your lap when you're not eating, you are allowing your wonderful servants, because who has those anymore,
Right.
to remove and replace your food. And your posture is better when you're sitting up and sitting back,
Right.
as opposed to having your elbows on the table. So there's that.
See, I always ate with my elbows on the table because I had brothers, and I was afraid they'd steal my biscuit. So if I had,
Well, that happened.
yeah, I did.
That happened, right?
Oh, Lord. So if these people out here is listening want to get up and kind of follow and see kind of the stuff that you're doing, which is very interesting to me. I mean, because they always give me a hard time by the way I eat potted meat. But how can they get up with you and follow you? You got on your website and this, that, and other?
So the social media aspect of my business, I'll be, truth be told, I haven't been paying a lot of attention to, but and part of that is because I'm in the process of refreshing everything.
Right.
The business that I ran, I no longer run. I'm now a consultant, and I consult on, various based to various and different people. So I need all that refreshed because it's like that stuff was like 15 years old. So we're in the process of doing that.
Right.
I do have an Instagram page, which is OG Etiquette Expert. OG as in original gangster etiquette expert, because there isn't anybody kind of doing this anymore.
No, they're not.
I will tell you, I read a really interesting article from Emily Post's great-great-granddaughter online on The Atlantic the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And that family is pretty much considered, the experts, and I've read all their books and everything. But, ogetiquetteexpert.com, and that's on Instagram. And eventually, I think my webmeister might get back to work. He seems to have been on weeks-long vacation, so that's what's up there.
That's not etiquette approved.
No, it's not. I have a bone to pick.
There you go. Well, girl, I sure do appreciate you taking a little bit of time with us this morning. It's been a real pleasure, and you seem like a real sweetheart. And I'm glad to hear you're from Georgia.
I'm a Southern belle. I'm a peach.
There you go.
And I've taken it all over the world, so I don't live in the South anymore, although I was just there. I was in Augusta. I was in Wetumpka, Alabama. I was in Laurel, Mississippi. Yeah, it was wonderful.
There you go.
And people were fantastic. So hello to the great state of Georgia. And thank you, Stephen, for your time today.
Thank you, girl. I appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for spending a little time with us. And remember, you can tune in every morning at WJULradio.com at 8 a.m. Eastern. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook, The Morning Dish.